Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Tuesday. Welcome back to A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Tuesday. Feels like it's been a little while since we've gotten together. Hope your time away was excellent. Mine certainly was. Anytime you have a weekend like Memorial Day weekend, it always feels like you need a break from your break, but it is always good to have some time off. I hope you got to enjoy it in the sun or by the water or at a cookout, wherever you were. I hope that you enjoyed yourself over the course of the holiday. We are here to talk about some Titans OTAs back on the practice field today, and will also be tomorrow. That will be open to the media, and you will see more coverage coming out of the second week of OTAs with the vets and the rookies all on the field together. So I got 3 making the leap candidates for you tonight that we will dive into and talk about. Peter Skoronski is on your graphic. It may have something to do with him. We'll also talk about regression and the possibility for where that lies on the Titans roster, because for as bad as it was in the past couple of years, it could always get worse. And I think there's one position group where it definitely stands to get worse. But we'll give you the good before we get you the bad. And then we'll wrap up with a gone viral video in remembrance of a broadcasting and basketball icon. We always love having you guys here. I missed you all. It's been a couple of days. So anytime there's some time apart, it's good because you get some time to miss me. I get some time to miss you. And then we get back together and it's always a great time. So as is the custom, nothing about this has changed. You need to share this show around on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. If you're hanging out on Twitter, retweet it in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Facebook Live, you can share now to public, and on YouTube, like the video and subscribe. While you're there, do the same on Twitch. Tafari asks me on YouTube, am I convinced on Will Levis? Well, no, I'm not convinced on any of them. I don't think there's a single thing not named DeAndre Hopkins or Jeff Simmons that I'm convinced in any way, shape, or form about on this roster. But that's what makes this season fun, because we're going to bleep around and find out together about how good or how bad this collection of players and the new coaching staff can be, with a pretty significant philosophical shift in how they're going to play football. Maybe in the last system that was not well suited to the strengths of the players that they've since added. Certainly, they've made an effort to evolve the way that they're going to play football based on not having Derrick Henry on the roster anymore. But am I convinced on any of them? No, I'm not convinced on any of it at this point. But, they don't have to convince me on May the 28th. They have to convince me in October, November, December, and on we go. We got plenty of time between now and then. So let's go ahead and jump in. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the wonderful people at Zen Sports. Download the app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN. Basketball, hockey, baseball also is something available for you to wager on in the Zen Sports app. Of course, you've got Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. You can go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. And you can also get the best workout in Middle Tennessee at TrueMav Fitness. Your first workout is free as a Middle Tennessee resident, with the best gym and the best facility and the best coaching staff in personal training, group fitness classes, or otherwise at TrueMavFitness.com. We are going to talk about 3 Titans primed to make the leap in 2024, because I do think there's some interesting characters to kind of dive into, both existing quantities on the roster and guys who have been brought in who may not necessarily have made the leap yet or stand to make a leap in their rookie season. I think you can go from veteran to second year to UDFA with guys who are capable of making the leap on this roster, and potentially who could be the beneficiaries of coaching, of scheme, which I guess falls in line with coaching, and just generally a little less, I'm not going to say less intense, because how intense Brian Callahan's work environment that he's going to create is going to be, we don't know just yet. But we know that there's definitely a level of edge that Mike Vrabel brought that did not necessarily make it the most comfortable environment, but you don't always want a comfortable environment in professional athletics. In fact, I think the thing that they, pride themselves on is trying to make themselves comfortable in the uncomfortable situations, whether that's pushing a 380-pound sled or, finding a way to get an extra 3 yards in December when it hurts and your body's breaking down. Making the uncomfortable comfortable is a part of football. Now, the thing that the Titans did is making an uncomfortable situation with Mike Vrabel more comfortable by changing the staff and trying to reconfigure how exactly this was going to work. And there is a degree of looseness that you feel about the players, not to the point of like problematic, but you get what I'm saying. Everybody seems a bit more at ease, and whether or not that pays dividends in a win-loss column or not remains to be seen. But at this point, I think that there's a lot to be interested in, as we've talked about a million times over. But in particular, I think that we can make the leap. Eddie Gortney, who clearly listened to the radio show today, said 20 more minutes of guard talk. Ha 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 ha. Yes, but it won't be entirely guard talk. But the guard, God help me, the guard does belong in the conversation. So the question that I'm going to ask you is this. I'm going to only ask you for one, and I'm going to give you three. Which player on the Titans' current roster do you think is most primed to make the leap? Whatever you qualify as making the leap in 2024. Let me know your submission. We'll talk about it together. It's your Two Rivers Ford take. It's presented by the South's most trusted Ford dealer, which, of course, as you know, is Two Rivers Ford. Quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service. Nobody goes above and beyond to put you in the driver's seat as the customer for a car buying experience that's fast, easy, and fun. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com for more information. So who is most primed to make the leap in 2024? A lot of submissions for Levis. Certainly he's going to be a popular one. Jonathan Ertl says, Chig. B. French says, Buck, if the Titans win a Super Bowl, will you get a tramp stamp? No. Why would I get a tramp stamp? Listen, your coach, Callahan, Brian, not Bill, has said that he would get is it a champ stamp? Not a tramp stamp, but a champ stamp. If they win a title, that makes sense. He's a football coach. He coaches the football team. If the football team wins a Super Bowl, yeah, it'd be cool. But if, the reporter who's along for the ride and who's there to document the thing, but has no investment. I mean, there's a little bit of investment because obviously when the team does better, the show does better. And I like when my shows do better, but I'm not going to get a tattoo if the Titans win a Super Bowl. Now, if Indiana wins the title, I get a Super Bowl because I'll not get a Super Bowl. I'll get a tattoo because that's my team, but your team is the Titans. So if you want to get a tramp stamp, if the Titans win a Super Bowl, good luck. God bless. Go on. So I think that when you look at a lot of the different things that the Titans have on the roster and that the Titans have brought in to the roster, there's a couple of different cases to be made, which is why I'm going to make three. Stephen King says McCreary at nickel, which is an interesting one, given the new parts and pieces surrounding him in the secondary. And forgive me, I'm gonna butcher this. Ashantis is how I pronounce it. Forgive me if I've mangled that on YouTube, but they say cornerbacks will make the biggest leap this year. We're talking about individual players. Position groups we'll get to here in just a little bit. Tiffany Cockrell says she already has a champ stamp. Why? Your football team hasn't won a title. Tiffany, you've got a champ stamp without a title? I feel like that's a red flag. Not a red flag, but a yellow flag. I feel like I should throw a penalty on that. A challenge flag for the red flag. Either way. Don't get the premature champ stamp. Wait until they've won the title to get the champ stamp. Otherwise, you're my dear friend in college. Well, I don't know if he's a colleague, but Mitch Firkins is always working ahead. I appreciate Mitch's optimism, but it would be better if you got the tattoo after they won something of consequence. Now, of the three that I'm going to make the case for, the one that I'm going to start with in particular is not. I'm not going to argue that Will Levis isn't the most important one to make the leap here, but I do think that Will Levis is particularly put in a good position to succeed. Now, Levis's success, I think, is more, it's kind of a funny balance because all the things that they've done on offense have been brought in service of Will Levis. So if I say that Will Levis is more important for him to elevate the parts and pieces around him, more so than the parts and pieces around him that they've brought in to elevate him. But I want to see him do more unto himself with the benefit of the improved talent. Now, maybe he's not capable of doing it with the improved talent. Maybe he's Ryan Tannehill, which, is not a bad thing. It's not the end of the world, I guess, because Ryan Tannehill has been a very, very successful quarterback for the better part of, over a decade at this point, as a former first-round pick. And, I think the vast majority of NFL quarterbacks not named, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, or like the greatest of the greats would take Tannehill's career in a heartbeat, even though he hasn't done much winning of consequence. But the frustration with Tannehill is that he is not a player who outright and consistently elevates the sum, right? His best version of himself is when the parts elevate him to the best version of his abilities, which again is not a bad thing. You can win in football that way, and you can win if Will Levis ends up being that. But the thing that Will Levis has to prove to you, me, and everybody in between is that he is more, right? That he is more than that, that he is a truck, not a trailer, which is an analogy that Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks on the Move the Sticks podcast use that I really, really like. A truck pulls everything forward, right? And a trailer, obviously, is towed behind the truck. So is Will Levis a truck or a trailer? I think this is an excellent year to find out. But certainly he has been put in as good a position as anybody on that roster to succeed. But I would put him on number 3 on my list of 3 that I would get to, because I do think that there's still some significant questions about Will Levis as a player that he can answer this year, but that we don't have the answers to just yet.
No, they need to help me. I need to help them. And I think, especially with TB, I texted him. I was like, I can't wait to learn the offense from you. It's cool to be able to watch the tape and all these cut-ups and him balling out and making all these plays and, on the teach tape, running these routes exactly like how we're telling everyone else to. So that's going to be some great insight to hear from a guy who's been in the offense and knows what it's like when the bullets are flying. And then with Calvin already being able to throw with him, I can tell that, we're going to be able to develop a really special connection. And he's a special type of player that I really do have to lock in with and get some chemistry with. But, no, he's been great, and looking forward to get TB here.
So that's Will Levis talking about TB is Tyler Boyd. Obviously, that was prior to Tyler Boyd's signing being made official. Since then, that has happened. If one player makes the leap, we will have a pretty disappointing season. We need a pretty big collective effort. Yeah. Listen, Eddie, you were spot on. The entirety of the roster has to make a leap, because 6 wins and 7 wins in back-to-back seasons is insufficient. Clearly and obviously, this organization, according to the owner, despite not having a championship in the Titans era, has championship aspirations, has championship expectations. And that's fine if she's going to hold them to that standard, as she should. That's exactly what you want to hear as a fan base. So yes, the answer is, of course, all of them need to make a significant leap. But if you're talking about 3 players, because I'm only going to narrow it down to 3, I'm not going to give you reasons for all 53, though I think you can go back and forth on all 53 in some form or fashion as the roster continues to evolve. There are 3 players in particular, and they're all from last year's draft class, that need to make a leap for this to have significant success. A to Z Sports Primetime is presented by the wonderful folks at TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. TrueMathFitness.com for your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout ever recycled or repeated. Just the best personal training, group fitness classes, and facility for you to improve your physical fitness, to achieve your goals, to get that summer body ready. If you're not quite ready yet, if you want to tone it up, you can do that at TrueMath. If you want to lose weight for your health, your happiness, or anything in between, you can do that at TrueMath. They will find the plan and the path for fitness forward that makes the most sense for you as the individual at TrueMathFitness.com. Your first workout is free. So, making the leap. Levis, obviously well set up for success. I also think that Tyjae Spears can certainly do that as well. But the player that I'm most, I don't want to say hyper-focused on, because Spears is too, and I think that Spears will be the beneficiary of Levis taking a leap and having Pollard in the backfield and having potentially, we'll see, one would hope, a more gifted offensive coaching staff to be able to provide opportunities for these guys. Also, the roster having improved will, of course, help Tyjae Spears as well. But I keep coming back to Peter Skoronski, no matter how much I don't want to talk about guards, because I'm sick and tired of talking about offensive linemen. I would love a season where I don't have to talk about the offensive line or really talk about the offensive line. Like, maybe a game, right? Maybe somebody gives up a critical sack when you've moved yourself into field goal position. You can't afford to take a sack on a third down, whether the quarterback holds the ball too long, whether the running back gives it up in protection, whether the left tackle lets somebody go by him, right? All number of things that can happen. Maybe we're talking about protection at certain points throughout the course of the season. But I don't want to have to walk in on what's the first game? September the 8th in Chicago. I don't want to land from Chicago on Monday morning, waltz into the radio studio, and be talking about the damn offensive line again. I don't want to do it. I'm tired of it. But I know that it's going to be a talking point all year long, which is why Peter Skoronski, alongside J.C. Latham and Lloyd Cushenberry, is, I think, as important as any player on the roster not named Will Levis making a legitimate leap. Latham, too soon to tell. He's got to learn his position before he can make any kind of leap at left tackle, right? But Skoronski's already done it. Now, he played in a handful of games last year as a rookie, and I think that you can say that pretty comfortably that Peter Skoronski was not good. He was not a good guard, starting guard in the NFL last year. Do I understand his circumstances, and am I willing to give grace to Peter Skoronski because he played on the league's worst pass-protecting offensive line, and he played in an untenable situation, and he played through injury or after injury, coming back from appendectomy, which is probably about as hard a thing to do as an offensive lineman as anything, because you have to try to continue to keep your weight and your strength up, and those things are not easy, if at all tenable to do whilst dealing with the recovery from an appendectomy. So Peter Skoronski last year missed about 3 weeks between weeks 1 and week 5 in Indianapolis when he ultimately came back, and then played the remainder of the regular season after missing that stretch of 3 games dealing with the appendectomy. He had a pretty nice run from basically Indianapolis in week 5 until the second Indy game in week 13, where he didn't give up a sack, or he's not credited, at least according to Pro Football Focus and their advanced metrics, he's not credited with giving up a sack. And then down the stretch from Miami to Houston in week 17 was as bad a stretch of football as Peter Skoronski played. He allowed 32 total pressures last year. He allowed, in those 32 pressures, 5 sacks, 7 quarterback hits, and 20 hurries, okay? Bad, objectively bad. Though one of his best performances of the year, well, honestly, his best performance of the year was week 1 in New Orleans. And after that, he didn't have another performance like that or even close to that until the final week of the regular season when the Titans beat the Jags and sent Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry off into the sunset. But Skoronski, being the beneficiary of not just improved health, one would think, and one would hope, if you're the Titans fan, for the sake of Peter Skoronski, and I hope for Peter Skoronski's sake that he has a better run at it with health, because rookie seasons are hard enough, and certainly this was a player that struggled on a variety of fronts. But I think that he will continue to be improved. It sounds like his head coach likes where he's at. So you'll hear from Brian Callahan first, and then Peter Skoronski second.
Yeah, he's put in some really good work. I think he looks great physically. He looks like he's supposed to look. I think probably got a little bit lighter because of the appendectomy I think he had. It probably contributed to some of that, but he looks like what guards are supposed to look like. He's put a lot of really good work in. I'm pleased with his progress.
Looks like guards are supposed to look like. And then, of course, there's Peter Skoronski himself after we spoke to his head coach earlier that day at practice.
I think you're going to have a little bit of a culture established in your line room. And you never want to be that group where people are pointing the finger to. Although people do tend to always point the finger there. But either way, we know we can be better. I think, Bill's done a great job of setting that culture here, but also, someone like me who's coming back and knows that feeling of being that group that maybe was the liability and not wanting that to happen again. I think that's definitely a point of emphasis and a little bit of a motivating factor even going through drill work now.
So a little bit of motivating factor, seeing the benefits already, even though they're not in pads. And, you can see some of the work, and we'll throw this up. You'll lose my audio for a second because it's just a quick 5-second clip. But just for example, Peter Skoronski and J.C. Latham running through drills together. And I'll play it a couple times for you just so you can see the rep over and over again. Latham at tackle, Skoronski at guard. Watch them work together, again, without pads, so they're not doing full contact. They're not doing 11-on-11 stuff. It's mostly 7-on-7 and then individual work for the big guys, basically, for the edge players and the defensive and offensive linemen. But again, continuing to work with the new offensive line coaching staff, which, of course, includes Bill Callahan, the head coach's dad. So Callahan is the person standing behind Latham, calling with the cadence, right? And you see him coaching Latham up. You hear him a little bit saying, that's better after a couple of different reps. And I think that's been the biggest positive takeaway from just the early phases, early phases of the offensive line stuff, is that there is considerable and noticeable improvement with J.C. Latham's technique in only a handful of days of OTA work. Now, is he going to struggle at times? Of course. But is he going to put Peter Skoronski in a better position to succeed? Absolutely. Will Lord Cushenberry put Peter Skoronski in a better position to succeed? Absolutely. And so that's why I think those three in particular, Levis, Spears, and Skoronski, all second-year players, stand to make the greatest leaps because, one, Spears won't have Derrick Henry, I don't want to say bogging it down, but it won't be so specifically tailored to Derrick now, where you can get a lot more creative with the utilization of Spears, the deployment of Spears. I think that's a benefit. The offensive line situation, which is Skoronski making the leap alongside improved talent, benefits both Spears and Levis. And Levis, of course, getting the coaching staff that one would think would be able to maximize him, or certainly if you're a Titans fan, one would hope would maximize him, plus the additions of the offensive line and Bill Callahan, which will make the thing look a lot better. Again, one would hope. But as I learned last year, as you all learned last year, it can always get worse. So as Coach Mack correctly says, keep your powder dry on all that. We'll talk more about position groups that stand to take a hit probably tomorrow, because I want to get to a gone viral video and pay a little tribute to an absolute legend. We'll do that right after I remind you that the Primetime program is presented by the best in betting. That's Zen Sports, where betting just got better. Up to $100 on your no danger first wager in the Zen Sports app. Download it, plug in the promo code you see behind me right there, ATOZTN, and get all manner of great odds boosts and promo bets on basketball, baseball, same game parlays. So many great offers for you. And if your Zen Sports play qualifies for VIP consideration, where you can earn sportsbook bonuses, comps at concerts and sporting events, you can submit your Zen Sports play at zensports.com/VIP. Don't forget that promo code ATOZTN. So I want to get to a gone viral video at the end of the show, because Bill Walton is tonight's gone viral video, who passed away at the age of 71 after dealing with cancer. It broke my heart, because I'll tell you straight up, Bill Walton is one of my favorite broadcasters of all time. Obviously, I'm younger, or obviously I'm of a younger generation than many of you who will remember Bill Walton for perhaps, some of you may be going back even to UCLA. Some of you, of course, his Hall of Fame career with the Celtics. And then he's been in broadcasting for a long, long time, both on the NBA and the college level. And Bill Walton has been in our lives in some form or fashion for the better part of decades upon decades. Major Key says, damn, no Levis video tonight. You missed it. You're late. Be better next time. So I think that with Bill Walton, there's something in particular, though, that always struck me with him. As somebody who, didn't really know that I was going to get into broadcasting until basically I graduated college, looked around and was like, oh, what the hell am I going to do for work as a poli-sci major who's, not going to law school? What can I do? Oh, okay, I'll go do sports broadcasting. That seems like it'd be fun. And turns out once you last the first couple of years, you can actually make some good money doing it. So it all played out. But I didn't have any kind of childhood growing up where I knew I was going to be a sports broadcaster. I knew that I wanted to be a sports broadcaster, whatever the case may be. But once I decided that I was going to get into this business, you start watching and paying attention more to the people who do something or are connected in some way to the thing that you want to do. And Bill Walton is one of them. Because it's not because Bill Walton drove people crazy that I loved him so much, but that is part of it. It's because Bill Walton made it entertaining and fun beyond just the entertainment that the sport provided. His moments, and we're going to play a highlight reel for you here in just a second, are some of the best in television. And I'm honestly a little salty with the way that a lot of people are remembering Bill Walton today, because I know they didn't feel that way about him, or I know not everybody felt that way about him during his, we'll call it hijinks as a broadcasting legend, because there's nobody truly that I have ever seen or watched or even come across in my life that is as singularly unique, positive, and overwhelmingly just good energy like Bill Walton was. So for me, he's one of my favorite broadcasters of all time. I'm so sorry to have lost him. I didn't really know that he was sick. It doesn't sound like many people knew that he was sick, but he has been away from television for some time. So our Gone Viral video is paying tribute to Bill Walton. We'll do that right after I remind you that the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage makes the primetime program possible. Don't sell without the intel that the Ashton team can provide. And with that, go to GaryAshton.com, the official real estate agent of the Nashville Predators. And we'll end tonight's show with a Gone Viral video, remembering one of my favorite broadcasters and one of the most legendary figures in sports to have ever graced this planet with his presence, Bill Walton.
Again. Your name is Dave, right? What's your name again? You're Dave, right? Is that you, Dave? Where have you been, man? I'm Bill.
Yep,
and we're at Stanford today, and we have got the game of the millennium tonight.
It doesn't get any better than this. I just got laid. Take a bite out of it while it's lit.
While it's lit?
Say, oh, I'm kidding. I can't.
How about the face plant here? Today, I have everything. Oh, I love my chocolates. Oh. There you go.
7-point lead right now.
Dust it off.
Have you kissed your ostrich today? That's what I want to know.
It's National Popcorn Day, please. Party on. It's a wonderful day. It's Oregon. The sun was out. Come on. So I got a shirt for the new football coach.
That's Tom Herman.
Tom Herman, yeah, from Houston, right? He brings me a shirt. Keep Austin weird. We're going to do our best today. Maybe I'll just strip down right here.
Bill is taking his shirt off. Thank you, guys, for not showing Bill, who isn't wearing deodorant, taking his shirt off.
Hey, man, I got a present for you here.
Oh, no.
These are very special and sacred plants.
This is another gift.
This is a gift. Just like that right here.
I have found that mushrooms only help you. There are basically 3 million species of mushrooms around the world. Because remember, fungus is singular, fungi is plural.
This is called a glockenspiel, okay? Made famous. German name.
You broke it.
No, I didn't break it. It comes apart like that. That's how you transport it. Please, don't you know anything about glockenspiels?
Can we stop interviewing the glockenspiel guy and focus on the game, please?
Looks good.
People doubted whether you actually drove to Temecula.
No, I went to Temecula and brought you some dirt. And this is how you use this dirt.
No,
See,
don't.
You do it like this. You get it. You sort of rub it on. You get it, and then you just sort of, okay, now I'm ready to go.